Welcome to The Disappearing Mind, a unique podcast helping you find clarity and support along your dementia journey. Now, join National Dementia Trainer and Coach Dawn Platt for an all-new episode.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Dawn Platt. So happy you could join me today on the Disappearing Mind podcast. We're going to begin in the studio with a series today in and around the holidays, entitled Dementia During the Holidays. I want to share with you today just some of the things I think that people who have dementia, families who have someone in their life with dementia, and even in my case, a daughter whose loved one has already passed, and now I'm entering the holidays for the first time without my loved one, which is my dear mother. The holidays are often filled with sharing, laughter, and memories, both good and bad. But they can also bring stress, disappointment, sadness, and even depression in some people's lives. A person living with Alzheimer's disease or related dementias may feel a sense of loss during the holidays because of the changes that he or she has experienced. You as a family member may find that you're missing that certain something that your loved one contributed to in your family traditions and to the memories that have impacted your life during this season. Things are going to be different. Let's talk about that in depth today as we start segment 1 of this series. Families and caregivers may feel overwhelmed by attempting to maintain traditions. I think we all like to do that, while providing care and trying to adhere to safety precautions or the changes that we make when we're caring for someone, along with doing the things that we've done all of our life. For many people, the holidays can be challenging with or without dementia. But for people with dementia and their families, there are certain ways that can make them more enjoyable and more manageable. And that's what I want to talk about today as we unwrap this. Perhaps like me and my family, you'll be celebrating the holidays for the very first time without your loved one. My dear mother passed in March of this year, and this will be the first time that we've gone through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year's into her birthday in early January since she has passed. So it's going to be very interesting. It can be daunting and a challenge as you realize that even though they've long past the ability to carry out all of the contributions that they may have brought to your family during the holiday season, that somehow just having them present somehow still connected you to that special time and memory. I want to tell you that my mother was very involved in the holidays. I have many memories of the holidays that really she created from the time I was a child. And I'm sure that most of you probably have similar stories that you can share. My mom was very much a giver. She liked to give gifts to everyone. And over the years, those gifts grew. You would get multiple gifts of all different kinds of gifts. And my mom was a very classic woman. She loved clothes. I love clothes. And so oftentimes I would get a lot of things that I really enjoyed, that I really valued in my life, as well as my sisters and my brother and our children. But as Mom aged and as dementia really began to set in, we started getting a lot of items that maybe were not our style or our choice or our pick. And one of the stories that I always tell, and I'm sure if you listen to the podcast you've heard, is that my mom had a real love and fixation on leather jackets. Not only did she own 60 of her own, and we do live in the tropics, but Everyone seemed to get a leather jacket at Christmas time each year. This will actually be the first year that that's not going to happen unless someone else picks up that tradition. And mind you, I love leather jackets, but I do live in the tropics. So the chances of them wearing out or that I get to wear them more than once or twice a season are pretty rare unless I travel. So maybe that's you. Maybe there's something that your loved one does or did in your life, and maybe even that became a joke in your family. You had to accommodate that in different ways. But I will tell you, as this being my first year without mom, I'm going to miss that. What became almost humorous at times, annoying at other times, is now something that I just wish I had. Think about that as you are going through the changes that your loved one is having. Maybe some of the quirky things that they have begun to do and you don't even know why. There may come a time when you're going to miss that. And that's the case for me. I want to begin by talking about, real quickly, 6 tips that the Alzheimer's Association puts out to kind of reflect in this series. I'm going to be covering most of these topics in my own tips, but these topics of conversation, I hope, will provide you with some peace of mind during the holiday season. So here's the tips from the Alzheimer's Association. Adjust expectations. We've talked about that a lot. We can't always expect that they're going to be able to engage in or kind of perform like they used to. And I think that because we're adding caregiving in, that we may want to change up some of what we have been used to doing. Involve the person with dementia in the holiday season. Typically, if we're talking about memories here, they have been involved most of your life to one degree or another. But now you've got to come up with new ways to involve them in holiday affairs and what's going on. And there'll come a time when you need to pick and choose what those are. I'll get into those with my own tips as we go through the podcast. Connecting through technology. It's always good to have phone calls and letters and cards from people, but people don't tend to send cards anymore, at least most people. Connecting through technology, through Skyping or FaceTime or those kinds of things is a real good way to connect distant friends and families to your loved one during this holiday season. Adapt gift giving. I'm going to unpackage this for you. The gifts that you would give when they were active or really not having any cognitive function issues are going to change once they walk the dementia journey, once things progress. And we'll talk about that. Familiarize others with the situation. People are coming to visit. They're going to see them during the holidays, and maybe they don't see them any other time of year. You're probably going to have to help them, advise them, and kind of tell them what to expect. They may be quite surprised when they encounter your loved one who has most likely declined over the last year. Protecting health. Protecting the health of the caregiver specifically, really, as well as the individual. But it's really important that you do a lot of self-care during the holiday season, as well as making sure that you don't overtax the person with dementia, depending on where they are in the dementia journey. Those are the 6 tips from the Alzheimer's Association. And I always encourage you to visit their website, as well as recognize and write down that they do have a 24-hour support hotline. And it could become especially handy during the holidays. Keep it on hand in case you need to use it. We're going to begin in this series to unpack some additional topics that will navigate you through the holidays when dementia is involved. And I hope you listen to the entire series. We will be releasing a new series every week in and around this topic and through the holidays. Join me for that time because there'll probably be several things that might be helpful to you or to your friends and family during the podcast. So be sure and listen. Please subscribe and share it with your friends. So the tip I'm going to talk about today in this segment is holiday gift giving for individuals with dementia. We need to focus on meaningful, dementia-friendly gifts that provide comfort, engagement, and at times sensory stimulation. What do I mean by that? There's some things that I want to unpack for you. I want you to consider. And number one, just because there's a dementia diagnosis does not mean that they're fully engaged in the middle or even in stages of dementia. There's some considerations that you might want to think about in your gift giving. In the early stages of dementia, gift giving is as usual. There's not a lot of changes that I would recommend, but you do need to take into account the types of gift that you're giving. Let's say there is a top of mind favorite that you have given in the past, and you want to know if that's an appropriate gift. If the gift is around maybe a hobby, let's say like golfing, ask yourself, how engaged in the hobby is the individual currently? If it is golfing, and maybe move from giving the actual golfing equipment to, say, giving a golf magazine. Change up, stay on the same hobby, but a golf magazine is much easier to navigate than golf clubs or other kind of golfing equipment. You'll still be giving them something that has an interest and can be useful. But as dementia progresses, consider these additional tips. Choose gifts that engage the senses, like textured blankets, scented candles, or sensory type items and activities. These can be useful for the individual. Even a food that they prefer could be a really nice gift. Consider an activity-oriented gift like a puzzle or adult coloring books or music players with their favorite tunes, these kinds of things that they can enjoy and engage in. Try and avoid gifts with complex instructions, things that are difficult to follow, complicated, or items that might be overwhelming, such as a new phone or a gadget that involves a remote. Those kinds of things can be a little bit too technical to give those kinds of gifts. So think about that as you're gift giving and keep it pretty simple. I want to kind of talk a little bit about the importance of the familiar. It's important to always connect them with things that they're familiar with. It's not really a good time to introduce new items or items that may require some learning abilities. Keep it familiar and comforting items that maybe evoke memories, such as things like food in and around. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. My mom loved perfume. She loved gift cards where she knew she was going to be able to shop. She liked things like caramel corn and certain kinds of candies that she seemed to get every year and really enjoyed that. It really connected her to the past, and she never lost the ability for those things to be familiar. Think about that as you're gift giving. Some other ideas that you really want to think about is, of course, the stage. Talk to other family members or talk to the person themselves and get an idea. It could be anything from simple puzzles to music to photo albums to an experience, like a gift card with my mother would have been to Marshall's or one of the fast fashion type of things to give her that ability to choose or feel like she has choice. It was kind of exciting for her. Think about that. You want to also think about gifts that may foster interactions. Give a gift that may allow you to socialize with one another. It could be something you could discuss. It could be something related to an old hobby. These things are important for them to be able to engage and talk about and view It may be something as simple like a simple game or a craft kit or something that helps with cognitive function. Really take into consideration gift giving this year and ask the person closest to the individual for some ideas. Food is always good. Beverages are always good. Something warm and cozy is good. Things like pajamas, kind of some of the neutral gifts that you might want to give, I think will be lovely. Don't forget family traditional type of gifts. They always kind of ring a bell with the individual and they never go out of style. It's helpful to connect them with new memories that will connect to old memories. And these are just things that you want to consider. I want you to stay tuned, listen to this series. I'm going to cover many topics in and around questions that people ask me all the time in regards to dementia and holiday gift giving. Until next time, this is Dawn Platt. Make it a memorable day.
Thank you for joining us for the Disappearing Mind podcast. We hope it's helped you find clarity and support along your journey. Be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode. Visit our website to suggest future topics and share the podcast with friends and family.